And so you might be, first of all, in a place where you're believing some lies. Lies about you, lies about what will make your life the life you are craving or yearning for. Lies about God, like he's some Santa Claus in the sky, or he's some angry, wrathful, ticked off creator in the sky, or maybe he just wound the whole thing up and put it in motion, and now he's ignoring it all and you're on your own. But your first location is, you could say, you know what, I'm believing some lies, and these lies have gotten me places I don't want to be. They could be lies people have told you. They could be lies you tell yourself. So his question is, where are you? And I want you to already start reflecting on your answer to that question. Like, where are you? Now, there are 5 universal answers to this question that every human being has answered this question with at some point in your life. Adam answers them with all 5. And so I want you to think about this. Now, as you came in, the greeters tried to give you a card that looks like this. And if you don't have one of these, in the next several minutes, I want you to just kind of flash your hand in the air, and our ushers will see to it you get one, because you're going to need this card to respond here in about 15 more minutes. So I want you to have the card. But there are 5 universal answers that are possible, and there may be more answers than this, but what typically happens is your answer is a surface answer that is a symptom of a deeper thing. Well, the first possible answer to this question is, well, I'm deceived. Where are you? I'm deceived. I believe some things that are not true. The whole thing started to unravel when the serpent says to her, oh, you won't surely die. The truth is, God's holding out on you. And if you take this fruit, you're going to become like God. You're going to elevate your game. Like, you're going to win if you do this thing. And so it was a lie. In fact, when Eve talks to God and he says, where are you? She says, well, the serpent you gave me deceived me and I ate. And so you might be, first of all, in a place where you're believing some lies. Lies about you, lies about what will make your life the life you are craving or yearning for. Lies about God, like he's some Santa Claus in the sky, or he's some angry, wrathful, ticked off creator in the sky, or maybe he just wound the whole thing up and put it in motion, and now he's ignoring it all and you're on your own. But your first location is, you could say, you know what, I'm believing some lies, and these lies have gotten me places I don't want to be. They could be lies people have told you. They could be lies you tell yourself. But the first possibility is that you're deceived. And here's the thing that the scripture tells us over and over and over again, is that when we are deceived, the Bible calls that spiritual death. And the only way to have the light turned on is for God to turn it on for you, for him to give you eyes that see and comprehension to understand. So, if you are finding yourself right now in a very difficult place, if you're hiding, if you are running, if you are ashamed, if you've got things going on in your world, the first question to seriously evaluate about yourself is, am I believing some lies? And what are the truths that would replace these lies? Because, the enemy's number one tactic is to lie to you. And to lie to you with something that sounds so close to the truth that it doesn't just leap out at you. Like if he told you ridiculous lies, you would see that for what it is. You've heard of the frog in the kettle. Like if you want to boil a frog, you don't put the live frog in a boiling pot of water, it'll jump right out. But what you do is you put it in lukewarm water and you turn on the fire. And the hotter it gets, that frog will sit there till it boils to death. This is the enemy's plot with you, is to just deceive you, just 2 clicks off from the truth, just get you to believe some things that aren't totally true. And then he's going to just boil you alive and put you in captivity due to your belief of lies. So you shall know the truth, the Bible says, and the truth will set you free. So the first universal answer is, well, I'm believing things that are not true. The second is, I'm afraid. Adam says, I'm afraid. Now, he confesses that the reason for his fear is his shame. He's afraid to be seen. He's afraid to be known. In fact, Adam and Eve were naked and had no shame. But as soon as they ate the fruit, they became aware of their nakedness and they started covering their body. It's fascinating to me that they covered their sexual parts. That's just profoundly fascinating to me, that their first impulse, because what they had done was not a sexual sin, but they immediately became ashamed of their core identity and, male or female, this makeup. I don't know. There's something there. I haven't really dove deep into that, but they became ashamed. So they're afraid. They're afraid to be seen. They're afraid for you to know them. In fact, they heard God walking in the cool of the day, so they hid, because they were afraid. A really great exercise for you is to reflect on, what am I afraid of? What is it that I fear? Why do I fear that? What circumstances make me afraid? What environments that when I find myself in these environments, I experience anxiety? Am I anxious in front of people that I think are more important than me? Am I anxious in certain social settings? Do I have anxiety when people ask me questions about myself? Like, what is it that you're afraid of? Are you afraid of death? Are you afraid of poverty? Many of us, in fact, psychologists universally agree that the number one human motivator is fear. It is what drives the lion's share of our behavior, is our fears. We react to what we are afraid of. We try to protect ourselves from what we're afraid of. So the second universal answer, where are you? You know what? I'm afraid. So I'm shutting down, I'm running, I'm hiding because I'm afraid. Third universal answer is, well, I'm hiding. I don't want to be known. And so I'm hiding from God. I'm hiding from people who care about me. I'm hiding from people around me. I'm hiding. They hid their bodies and then they hid in the bushes to hide themselves from God. They're hiding. And man, there are so many places for us to hide. You can hide in religion. Some people, you know this because churches can be so full of dysfunctional people and people who are actually pastors or spiritual leaders who are so jacked up at the core of their being that they do these horrific things and they're just hiding in religion so that nobody will see them. You can hide in success. You can hide in relationships. I mean, there's so many places to hide. But your answer might be, you know what? I'm hiding and I don't want to come out. Hiding leads to loneliness. And I read a quote this week. I wish I could remember who said it. Loneliness is the waiting room for death. Like when you are hiding and nobody gets to know you, and people do this, we don't want to get hurt. So I'll show you this much of me so that that's all you can hurt, because if you see all of me, you could crush me. And so we protect ourselves and we hide. We have these illusions that everybody, especially you go to church and you look around and, man, there's some good looking people in here. And these people seem to have their act together. I'm the only, if these people knew what I do and have done or what I'm, they would. And every man knows, man, if my wife could read my thoughts, she would run from me. So we all have this thing where we just feel this compulsion to hide. So you could be deceived, you could be afraid, you could be hiding, you could be ashamed. I hid because I was naked. Well, bro, you were naked 5 minutes ago and you didn't even know. In fact, you were frolicking in the valley in the garden with your wife and you had no awareness of it. But so I'm ashamed. Shame is one of the most powerful forces in the human race because it forces us to do things. In fact, again, psychologists have said if we could eliminate guilt and shame from human beings, we could empty 80% of the hospital beds in America overnight. It's destroying us. It makes us do things we don't want to do. It makes us carry stress and anxiety and worry that we don't have to carry. Shame. I'm ashamed of myself. Something you'll never see in the Bible, by the way. God's saying you should be ashamed of yourself. That's what the devil tells you. God says, hey, let's move on. You are guilty. Let's move on, but I don't condemn you. In fact, John 3:16, one of the greatest verses in the Bible. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whoever would believe in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. My favorite's the next verse, verse 17. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn it, but that the world might find life in his name. So God has no delight in condemning you. He has delight in you finding life. So here's the irony. I'm standing here hiding in my shame from God, who is the one who already knows everything. He knows more that I, should be ashamed of than I do. And yet he wants to know me. He wants to invite me out of the bushes. He wants to walk with me forward into new life. So maybe you have shame. The next one is universal as well, which is blame. You might be blaming. Notice when God says to Adam, who told you you were naked? God says, where are you? Well, I was afraid because I'm naked, so I hid. Who told you that you were naked? What does he say? Well, this woman you gave me. This woman. I fall asleep, you do surgery, I'm missing a rib, I wake up. She's really pretty. I love this, but boy, she has ruined my life. Now, the reason I backed up the reading all the way to chapter 2, where God gives Adam the instruction about the tree, is for you to realize, men, that Eve wasn't even made yet when God gave the command about what you could or couldn't do with that tree in the middle. So many people have condemned women because it was Eve who ate the fruit first. In fact, Paul even refers to this in the New Testament, which is a whole nother conversation. And ladies, I would love to have it if you ever want to. But guys, you need to understand this. God didn't give this command to Eve. He only gave it to Adam. And the side note, after she eats the fruit, when Eve saw that it was useful for gaining wisdom and attractive to the eye and pleasing to the flesh, she took some and ate it, and she gave some to her husband who was with her. Suddenly the dude's deaf and mute, like he's just standing there, not asserting himself in any way. But now when God says, who told you you were naked? Well, it's this woman. And he blames her. I got to tell you, one of my deep core beliefs is if you want to revolutionize any relationship in your life, if you want to revolutionize anything in your life, take out a Sharpie, draw a circle around yourself, fix everything in that circle. This is step one to our life forward. So you'll get nowhere blaming. But Eve does the same thing. He turns to Eve, what have you done? She said, well, that serpent that you put in the garden, he deceived me, so I ate. Neither of them is taking responsibility for the decisions that they made. They're blaming. I got to tell you, man, it's really, I'm an optimist. Like if I'm down to my last $5, I'll go buy a new wallet because more money's coming soon. I really believe that. Like I'm just this eternal optimist. But when I'm hanging around people who refuse to take responsibility for who they are or what they're doing, I reach a level of hopelessness. Like I don't know what to do with that. You have no hope until you acknowledge. 12 steps know this. In fact, awareness of where you are. It's a great question. Where are you? And then you might start thinking about, well, how did I get here? And psychologists will help you with this. Counselors will help you understand who you are. Where'd you come from? What's your origin story? How did you get here? That is helpful, but it doesn't heal you. It just helps you understand better. What heals you? Personal responsibility, walking with God into your future. This is how you get healed. You can't get healed just sitting still, having a better understanding of how you got there. It's useful. This is where the 12 steps came from. The authors of the 12 steps had been involved in counseling in their addiction a ton. They knew what their daddy issues were and what their problems were as a child, and they knew their trauma, but they couldn't find freedom from their addiction. And they realized as they crafted these 12 steps, which all came from the scriptures, by the way, they started finding freedom from their addiction as they took responsibility for just today. I just got to take responsibility for today. I got to confess, hi, my name is Jim and I'm an addict. I've got to take responsibility for what I've done to people. I need to make confession. I need to restore wherever they started taking these steps and they found their way to freedom because blaming will never set you free. But you might be stuck in blaming because it's a universal thing to do. And it takes the spotlight off of you for a little bit, which makes you feel a little better. So you might be blaming.